to our Dylan and Cheta live with more on that news conference. Dylan.
Thank you so much. Yes, the tragedy unfolding here. As you mentioned, we have learned that at least 2 people have been killed in this incident here. We're located along Uolena Street, and over the last hour that we've seen, firefighters were very active early on in their fight to contain the smoke, contain the fire. But over the last hour, their activity has cleared out, and right now we are joined by the officials, the emergency responders here. So we are going to listen into their press conference right now. So let's go ahead and set up for that, guys.
Chief Howell with HFD, Dr. Ireland would like as well.
Ed Stifford with Department of Transportation.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out. Today, absolute tragedy occurred with one of our airline service provider, Wahana. We had a Cessna 208 Kamaka Airlines plane crash into the building behind me here. 2 souls were on board. Both perished. Soon after the crash, our airport firefighters, HFD, and EMS responded to the scene very, very quickly to make sure that they put out the fire, cleared the debris, cleared the building to ensure there was nobody inside that got hurt. Great thing is this building was abandoned behind me, so nobody was inside at the time. Really appreciate all the work that our emergency responders put into this to make sure we kept everybody safe. Right now, our DOT and Kamaka Air are working with NTSB and FAA on the investigation that follows, and more details will come. But from all of us, our condolences go out to the 2 people in the plane who perished. Really sorry for what we see today.
Hello, Chief Howell from the Honolulu Fire Department. Again, it's a tragic loss. Our condolences go out to the Kamaka Air Ohana, and again, it's great teamwork between the state ARF and our firefighters who did fire control. So ARF had their water on fire first. HFD arrived second, assisted with fire control. We did interior search to clear the building. Fortunately, the building is an abandoned building, so it's the best case scenario. No one else was involved in two souls that were lost. So again, it's very tragic, and our hearts go out to the families and again, the Kamaka Air Ohana. Again, mahalo.
Chief, do you know roughly how many resources you had to sort of expend on this? How many firefighters were involved?
I can't give you the exact numbers, but normally we have about 5 to 6 units of our own responding initially with us. But ARF, again, did a great job of getting on scene, getting water on fire, and actually had it contained very well to the exterior portion of the building.
Chief, can you confirm the exact location? Where did the Cessna land when it went down?
From my understanding, it hit the exterior stairwell area, so there was no really interior fire other than it was more confined to the exterior portion of the building.
Chief, as of right now, can you describe what the scene looks like after an hour of response time?
Actually, like I said, the fire is not much contained by the building. It's more in the parking lot area and confined to the wreckage itself. So the wreckage is primarily out in the parking lot.
How wide of a debris field was scattered by the impact?
No more than 50 feet, but that's under investigation.
We see a drone above the building. Can you tell us what the drone is doing?
Our drones are, as from the Honolulu Fire Department, we're just getting some aerial views to assist with our fire investigators.
Dr. Ireland, the response you guys had from emergency services?
So James Ireland, Emergency Services Department, again, just to echo what the other chiefs said, it's just a tragedy today, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family. And in EMS, we always hope that there's somebody to help, and tragically today that wasn't the case. We responded today with our Assistant Chief of Operations, who was our Incident Commander, Jeff Zuckernick, to my left, 2 district chiefs. We sent 2 ambulances initially and had a few more on standby. We also brought our ambulance bus, which is behind the cameras, and then our incident command vehicle. Now, our EMS office is just 2 blocks from here, right on the other side of Dunkin' Donuts, so we arrived very quickly. Also, fortunately, we were at Fire Station 8 on Valkenburg doing training, so we had a large number of our assets really simultaneously with the Honolulu Fire Department as well as a state airport fire rescue. Our initial assessment was there were 2 deceased in the wreckage. And again, just so tragic because we really are always hoping that there's somebody to help. And And our concerns then were on the building. Part of the building was leaning over from the damage from the aircraft, so it wasn't safe underneath that, and the fire department kind of cordoned that off so it wouldn't be a risk to the rescuers. And then we just waited in case there was anybody in the building. But again, because it was an abandoned building, fortunately there was no one there. So we have some resources here. We're kind of wrapping up. And from the city standpoint, we're going to be turning this over to the Honolulu Medical Examiner. Thank you.
Are you able to give any ID of the 2 souls on board?
You know, that's nothing that I know about. You know, we responded, we determined the 2 had passed, and that was the extent of the EMS role, other than just standing by in case there were other victims within the building.
Do any of the officials at least know the age ranges of those on board?
We don't have any of that information.
So the FAA doesn't allow us to release any information until they clear it. Once they're cleared, then they can start releasing from there.
We understand some family members were on scene. Did you folks, I know the sheriffs made contact with them. Can you tell us what their reaction was when they spoke to the officials?
We talked to them. There's one group of family members who knew their member was on board, and there's another group that was wondering if they were or not. We didn't have any of the information that we could give to them, but Kamaka Air contacted them, asked them to come down to their offices so they could speak to them directly.
Ed, can I ask you real quick, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but obviously Kamaka Air was affected. Were any other operations for Honolulu Airport affected as far as the other major airlines, commercial airlines?
So no other operations were affected, but everybody who flies Mokulele, if they have a flight tonight, should check in with them. The streets around the area are closed, so they should check in with their provider just in case. And definitely not insensitive. There's impacts that occur. Absolutely tragic situation. We want to make sure that we minimize this as much as possible.
I had one more question for you. You mentioned this building was unoccupied, but what is it normally for?
So the airports, we own this building. The DOT owns it. We're going to be demolishing this building in the future to build a new parking structure that allows us to build out the Diamond Head Concourse. So thankfully, nobody's in the building. It's unoccupied. We don't have any plans to use this building in the future. We're going to be demolishing it soon.
Can you confirm where this plane was going and that, in fact, it was a charter flight?
So, from what I understand, it took off from runway 4 left. It's not a charter flight. It was a training flight. So there were only 2 souls on board. And I don't want to say only. This could have been much, much worse. But the situation was limited to the 2 that was flying the plane. Nobody else on the ground. From what we understand, and we're looking at the reports now, the pilot made a lot of adjustments to minimize what they hit. And we're watching the footage now. We're working with the NTSB and FAA to see what that looks like. But from what we understand from people who saw the crash, they avoided quite a bit of structures, including our fuel farm, to minimize the impacts that they were had.
So are the large white domes there, is that the fuel?
That's correct.
Thank you, guys.
Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So as you folks just heard, that was the press briefing from emergency officials here. We learned a number of details, including that this was a Cessna 298 plane, and officials there are saying there were no major disruptions to operations at Daniel K. Inouye. We also did learn that family members were here on scene. I personally saw them myself, and the emotion from them was just overwhelming. We saw one woman coming here. She was already in tears, and they did speak to officials there. We don't know much about those on board, but we do know that 2 people were on board, and this was a training operation, as you heard there. So for now, we'll send things back into the studio. Guys?
Thank you. Just before that news conference, we are speaking about the audio we have, a recording of the pilot's final communication with the control tower.
We've cut out the long pauses in the recording. The radio transmissions reveal the pilot's awareness that something was wrong and the tower's attempt to help him make a safe landing. Let's listen in.
689, you're turning right? Kamaka 689, we are out of control here. Okay, Kamaka 689, okay, if you can level it off, that's fine. Any runway, any place you can do. Delta 312 heavy, go around, maintain 4,000. Go around, maintain 4,000, Delta 312 heavy.
That audio you just heard is from live air traffic control. Based on the audio transmissions, this happened at 3:05 p.m. Kamaka Flight 689 was cleared for departure at Honolulu's airport from runway 4 left. Then air traffic control notices something is wrong and asks the pilot if he is making a right turn. That's when the pilot of Kamaka 689 tells the tower the plane is out of control. You then hear air traffic control instructing the pilot to land on any runway at Honolulu International Airport. There is no answer from the pilot of Kamaka. Then another transmission by air traffic control, and this time you can hear distressed workers in the tower yelling in the background as they instruct other aircraft to land elsewhere and clear the runways at H&L.
And we have some new video just in, captured by a driver who is traveling near the airport. You can see the aircraft highlighted there at the top left corner. The driver said it appeared the plane made an erratic U-turn before going out of view. I can tell you a little bit more now. If you can imagine Lagoon Drive, parallel to that is runway 4L. So the plane was taking off going Mauka from the airport essentially toward the Mauka areas of Honolulu. And instead of turning right as the control tower had instructed, they turned left. Perhaps they were out of control, but you can see from the video the plane is, the wings are almost completely vertical by the time it hits the building there. So there was no control as they made that left turn, almost a 90-degree turn from where they had taken off from 4L. Governor Josh Green just released a statement on the crash saying, "Jamie's and my hearts go out to the pilot and passenger and their families, as well as to all who've experienced this traumatic event. Services are available to help you process what you've witnessed. Call 211 Aloha United Way for assistance."
He also says our Department of Transportation team will provide all necessary support to federal officials whose job it will be to investigate this incident and determine a cause which may not be known for some time. Now, we just heard from officials that some roads are closed around the area. Let's go to our Jonathan Masaki for more on that.
Well, Stefan, yeah, you know, it's still a very active scene right now. I do want to show the flow that is happening right now. The viaduct, both directions looking very good if you want to get to the airport or if you're dropping someone off. Also want to get to the maps right now. I want to show you where it is affected as we speak. Right now, the roadways in this area are closed, as you heard Mr. Sniffen also talk about that. This is Ualena, Ohuhia, Paea, Lagoon, and Pu'uloa roads all remain closed as this is still a very active scenario. Of course, we'll keep you updated once we hear anything different, but that's going on as we speak. So that's your latest first alert traffic right now for this very tragic day. Callie and Stephanie, actually, Jen, with weather.
Thank you so much. As we take a closer look at the winds, as we know, when aviation goes on, they do have a special report for pilots for takeoffs just because of that, and they have to pay close attention to the winds and what's happening, and it really determines what direction they may be taking off and also where they will land as well. But today we did have Kona winds, but normal operations, even with those Kona winds, you see not very gusty conditions across the state. The winds remain light, and that will be the trend the next couple of days. As we take a closer look at the flight path, runways 8 left, 8 right, 4 left, and also 4 right is normal operations. And you could usually have the trade winds that are light to moderate speeds, and then they go towards Diamond Head. But usually with stronger Kona winds, it's opposite, 26 right, 26 left, 22 right, and 22 left when it comes to the runways, and it goes in the opposite direction there. But we did see normal operations today, and also light winds remain in the forecast the next couple of days. We'll take a closer look at all of these elements and certainly have more on this breaking news. You're watching Hawaii News Now. We'll be right back.